So lately there's been a lot of news surrounding fake check scams and how it's becoming an exploding epidemic.
The Better Business Bureau study finds billions of dollars of fake checks circulate every year.
In the past few months, there have been a number of people who report getting a bogus check.
So here's how it works. Scammers will create random job postings on the internet and offer to pay you for some random work. Scammers will send you a fake check and then ask them to send some money to accounts set up for fake business purposes.
It is not until after the consumer has wired funds that they learn the check was bad and they are on the hook for reimbursing the bank.
And apparently, this scam has cost U.S. citizens $37 million just in the last year. So I thought I'd put on my detective hat and figure out where these scams are originating from and what I could do to stop them. So I got my very first clue when someone who watches my videos, we'll call him Jack, emailed me and told me that he thought that his friend was involved in one of these scams. Jack said that she applied for a job she saw on Facebook for a company called Simplify Payroll. And she was interviewed via text message by a mysterious guy named Andy and was offered a job to mail out nearly 100 checks a week to random people all over the United States. And I said, yeah, that sounds like a scam. But I wanted to learn more, so I asked if Jack still had the phone number for his friend's boss, which he did. So I got the phone number and I texted Andy to see if he was still hiring. I said, hello, I am wondering if I can apply for the job posting still. And Andy responded and he said, hi, who is this and what job position are you asking about? I said, well, my name is Ben and it is the payroll job. I thought if he hired me to be his check distributor, then I could learn the ins and the outs of this multi-million-dollar scam operation and maybe even save some people from getting scammed. But he said that the payroll position was filled. Dang it, I wanted that job. But Andy had something else in mind for me. He said, I know someone who may be in need of a personal assistant. If you're interested, let me know. And I said, I am interested, very much. And Andy said, email me your full name and full address. He will contact you. So I did. I emailed him my P.O. Box number and said my name was Benjamin Dover. Do you get it? Ben Dover? So a day later, Andy wrote back and he said, hi Benjamin, I have received your details in respect to the personal assistant job you applied for. I'm glad to inform you, you've been selected to be my new personal assistant. Your first task as my PA will be mailed to you shortly. I will also email you details on your new task for me. I sent you an email. Kindly confirm you've received it. Check your spam junk folder in case it's sitting there. So I found his email and the email says, Dear Benjamin, how are you and your family? It's a great pleasure to receive your details with your interest to be my personal assistant. I've been checking my files and what I would want you to do for me this week is to run some errands to some of the orphanage home. I do that every month. Well, hey, what a charitable guy. He went on to say, a payment in the form of a certified check money order will be sent over to you from one of my financier. I will email you instructions on what to do. Let me know if you understand this 100%. So I text Andy and I let him know that I'm ready to go. And the next day, I get another email from him. Hello Benjamin, I am letting you know that the paycheck for your first week's salary has been sent out via FedEx and the check would arrive today. According to the issuing bank, funds has been released to you. Therefore, the check must be deposited for instant withdrawal or if necessary, wait 24 hours for funds to be made available to you. As you know, your weekly salary is $425. This is how much you would keep from the check. First errand, I'm a philanthropist. I donate to some charity organizations every month. I want you to deduct your weekly salary from the check and send the rest of the funds to one of the organizations I usually donate to. So here's the plan. He wants to send me a big check and have me cash it and keep $425 for myself, and the rest I just need to deposit in some Bank of America account in the name of Charlene Foreman. So the next day, a package shows up from Colorado. It's from FedEx and it has an envelope with a check inside. And it looks just like a real check. I bet any bank would cash this thing. But the chances are that this is fake and it's just gonna bounce, leaving me on the hook with the bank. So there's no way I'm gonna cash this thing. But Andy is hounding me to deposit the cash. So I try to make an excuse. I say, I don't live near a Bank of America. And that's when he tells me that I can make the payment through Bitcoin. He even manages to find a convenience store in my city with a Bitcoin machine. Now, I have my doubts that a legitimate payroll company would be wanting me to make a charitable donation through Bitcoin. So I try to find out a little bit more about this Andy guy, and I ask him where he's located. And he says Los Angeles, California. I need to know if he's telling the truth, so I use a tool at grabify.link to snag his IP address. I do this by creating a redirect URL to the website of the convenience store, and I send him a link asking if this is where the Bitcoin machine is. Now all I need to get his IP address is for him to click on it, which he does, giving me his IP address. And it turns out he's not really in Los Angeles. He's actually in... So these scammers are running these elaborate check scams from across the world. But how did I get this fake check mailed to me so quickly? And how did it come from Colorado if he's in Nigeria? The answer is through their money mules, like Jack's friend and the dozens of other Americans who think they're doing legitimate work.
It seemed like a legit job.
And if I was going to get to the bottom of this, I needed a better job than being this guy's stupid secretary. I needed to be a money mule. And lucky for me, a job position just opened up because Jack's friend immediately quit as soon as she knew that she was involved in a scam. So Andy considered me for the job. Andy asked, "Do you have a printer?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What kind of a printer do you have? What type of model? Can you send me a picture?" So I just took a photo of some random printer on Google. "All right, we can work together and make some money. You'll be printing and mailing out checks. Is this something you'll be able to do?" I had finally gotten the job that I'd wanted. So here I am climbing the corporate ladder at Simplify Payroll and experiencing what it's like to work as a money mule for an international scammer. Andy said, "You'll be to order the check papers. I'll send you the link to purchase it." So he sends me a link to stockchecks.com and wants me to order some blank checks. And the checks are like $30. But I've got to play along so I don't mess this up. So I go ahead and I place an order for some hologram burgundy scalp blank checks. A couple of days go by and Andy asks, "Ben, is the check papers shipped?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "All right, keep me posted. Let me know when you have them." Well, on a sunny Friday afternoon, the UPS man delivered a box of checks and I was ready to go to work. I immediately let Andy know and he said, "Good, I'll email you a sample. You'll print the sample on the check paper and then you'll take a picture and send it to me." So I followed the instructions. I put a blank check into the printer, I opened up his file and I hit print. And just like that, I had committed my very first federal crime. And I would never actually send someone a fake check, so I tore it up immediately. But not before I took a picture for Andy to show him that I knew what I was doing. And Andy said, "Hello, Ben. I have just received the image. Looks perfect. I'll send you 10 payees tomorrow. You'll print and envelope them. You can drop off tomorrow before FedEx pickup time in the morning." So early the next morning, I got an email with 15 prepaid overnight shipping labels for people all over the United States. A second file had all the checks that I needed to print. Here was 15 innocent people that are about to cash fake checks and lose hundreds of dollars. And I knew I couldn't just sit back and watch this happen. So I printed off the labels, but not the checks. Instead, I drafted a letter. I said, "Hi, you're probably expecting a check for $997.42. I'm writing to tell you that you're being scammed. The person you've been talking to is living in Nigeria and he has hired me to send you a fake check. I'm not going to do it because if you cash a check from him, it will bounce and cost you hundreds of dollars. When he asks if you've received the check, tell him you're no longer interested and you won't be cashing it. If you want more evidence and want to help me put an end to scamming, send me an email. Ben." So I inserted my letter into all 15 envelopes, sealed them, and dropped them off at FedEx. The warnings were out. So I went home and I opened up 15 tabs on my browser and I anxiously watched as each of the 15 checks made their way across the country. So a day goes by and Andy, who thinks that everything's going according to plan, emails me 10 more names. So I went to work. I thought the longer I keep this up, the more people I can protect and the more money I'm going to cost Andy in overnight shipping. I was going to drive this scam operation into bankruptcy. Now at this point, checks are landing in mailboxes and people must be getting my letter. But nobody's reaching out to me. Until a couple of hours later when I get an email from a lady in South Carolina that we're going to call Jenny. And she says, "Hi, I received your letter, but I never spoke to anyone for a check in the amount of $997.42. I'm confused." And I was confused too. I said, "That's weird. I was hired to mail you a check." And I tell her to never mind and to just disregard it. But then she writes back minutes later. She says, "Funny how I got a text after emailing you. You're the dumbest scammer ever, Ben/Brian. LOL, I'm going to end you." What, Brian? Who's Brian? Here I am trying to be a nice guy and warn her of a scam, and she's getting mad at me? So I try to explain and tell her the full story, but she ain't having any of it. She said, "I have some people now doing investigation on all this. I'm in the law field, by the way. It's what he and yourself didn't know." Why does this always happen to me when I try to help? I stopped her from cashing a fake check, and now she's, gonna call the FBI on me? And now Andy's getting frustrated because none of his check recipients are responding to him. And finally, he says, "Why did you include letter in all the checks?" Oh crap. He said, "Why did you buy the supplies when you know you're not ready to work?" And so I try to play stupid and I say, "Why do you think that?" And he said, "That's the report I'm getting." And then he shows me a text from Jenny to him. "F you and that fake you got going on from Nigeria. Ben told me, he wrote me a letter in detail. You are going to be stopped. Trust me when I say this." Freaking Jenny blew my cover. And now I'm going to get fired from this new job that I worked so hard to get. And she even sent him a picture of my letter. So he reads it and he must have Googled my email address or something, because the next thing he says is, "I like your YouTube channel. I'm now a subscriber." Well, this is awkward. Bye now. I will be waiting for this story on your YouTube. And that was the end of my employment with Simplify Payroll. And so, Andy, boss, if you're watching right now, you're a candy